Hi guys, and welcome back to the Cruel Corner. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty corner for all things Formula E. So the Italian E-Prix has come to a close from Rome, of course, and what could be said for round number 1 of the weekend? Well, it was a little bit of a thriller, wasn't it? It certainly was. It was a nail-biting one. It was an interesting one. We had the big collision as well. Thankfully and luckily, all drivers got out safe and sound from that. But a lot of big work to go for the teams overnight to be able to get their cars ready for tomorrow's race. Yeah, it's not what you need, is it? Not what you need at all. But yeah, we're going to come into everything as we go through it. We're going to get through the drivers. But yeah, just so you're already aware, I think because of that massive crash, there's going to be a lot of people obviously scoring 5, really, because there's not really much else I can score. So if you've never seen this series before, I award the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Take a look out for bonus points though. They're sometimes an offer for some drivers that do something extra special during a race, and on the very rare occasion I do award minus points to those drivers that do something extra special, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's take a look at the current Cruel Corner standings then. It's on the screen now for you to take a look at. It's close at the top. Could it spread? Could it get a little bit closer after this round? I'm not sure. Let's see what happens. But yeah, there's a pecking order up front, and the mid-pack is still so close. It could be anyone's in that mid-pack. The tail-enders are tailing off a little bit, but Maxi Gunter, of course, with his late resurgence of being absolutely fantastic for no apparent reason these last few rounds, continued it here again this weekend. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up as the season comes to an end, but I don't think he's going to get himself too far up. I think the damage was done so early on in the season. So let's kick things off with the race winner, of course. It's Mitch Evans in the Jaguar. Well, what could be said for Mitch this weekend? It was perfect, wasn't it? So far, so good, this race. Round number 1 is certainly, you know, he loves Rome. The Jaguar is suited to Rome. It's such a great car. It suits the circuit. And it's proved it once again. Of course, Mitch taking pole position, so scores the 3 points for the pole position, and then wins the race as well as scoring fastest lap. So he did very well there to get every point possible. He's an outsider when it comes in terms of the championship, but with a result like this, it only helps, doesn't it? It's still, I mean, if he has a good race tomorrow, then it could, but I think it's still going to be a little bit on the fence. I think he's still going to go in with maybe, it's going to be more of a realistic chance if he has a good race tomorrow. But even then, I think it's still bordering on the mathematically possible, but not realistic, if you know what I mean. But for now, this weekend, you know, he did all he could, literally. Quite literally, he picked up every point available to him this race and this round. And yeah, was thankful that his teammate crashed behind him and caused the chaos and carnage behind him. That was lucky, to be honest with you. For Mitch Evans, as were all the title contenders actually. They all avoided the incident. So yeah, that is quite astonishing really, that no one was caught up in it that was a serious title contender. Not that I really wanted to see anyone get caught up in it, but you know what I mean. Mitch Evans, this race, absolutely perfect, and what exactly he needs to get himself into that slight title hope, you know, sort of feeling it a little bit now. It's still highly unlikely, like we said, good race tomorrow required. But for now, I'm going to score him 11 points. He's getting 1 bonus point for that. I think if you do a grand slam of so to speak, of being able to pick up every point, that's more than worthy of a full 11 for me. A bonus point for that. So yeah, 11 points to Mitch Evans. Finishing in second place, it is of course Nick Cassidy, the other title contender. Oh, it's so great to see him up here. It's so great to see him doing so well. Nick Cassidy, brilliant. Another podium, a solid 18-point haul. That is fantastic effort. Well done to Nick Cassidy for that. He really deserves it. Does he take the lead of the championship again, or was he already in the lead? I can't quite remember how it works out. But yeah, either way, it's only marginal, isn't it? There's only a few points here and there. But yeah, I mean, Nick Cassidy's done fantastic this season. I've said it all season long, haven't I? He really deserves this, and I'm buzzing for him. You know, a podium's exactly what he needs. Only losing out to Mitch Evans by a few points, but that's fine. You know, that's okay. Mitch is the unlikely title rival. He needs to outscore Jake Dennis. That's exactly what he's done. He needs to outscore Pascal Wehrlein. It's exactly what he's done. Pascal Wehrlein looking a bit unlikely for that title now, it must be said, but not all over yet. 3 rounds to go. Nick Cassidy this weekend, 9 points for me. Absolutely brilliant. Well done. Great effort. 9 points is deserving. he's done great, hasn't he? He has done great. The qualifying effort's still not quite there, though, is it? That's where I'm knocking a point off. He's always like just not quite good over one lap, and the car's not quite got it over one lap, but he more than makes up for it in the race, and he does a superb job. Well done, Nick Cassidy. 9 points to you. Finishing in third place. My God, here he is again. Go away, Maxi Gunter. It's Maxi Gunter, third place again. Another superb effort and a great start to what could be a really fruitful weekend for Maserati and Max Gunter, of course. Yeah, I just cannot believe it. I cannot believe the turnaround in fortune for Maxi Gunter, and it's all on him. You know, he has had a lot of bad luck, admittedly. You know, he has been hit and miss this season, though. You know, Mortara's been doing his fair share of shunting. Maxi Gunter's been doing his fair share of shunting as well, it must be said, but he has been unlucky as well. It's not always been all his fault, but he had a very poor start to the season no matter what. And this race, once again, he's on the podium. He's on the podium. He's gone from someone that I was just like, get off the grid and borderline disqualification, you know, to actually, you know, you're doing really well now. So I'm glad I didn't disqualify him, because how much of a dick would I look? But it was close to. But all the other ones that I've disqualified haven't done anything, have they? So, you know, maybe I've sealed their fate, so to speak, but Maxi Gunter's embraced it. Who knows? So for Maxi Gunter this weekend, he's going to be joining Nick Cassidy with 9 points on the board to him. Again, another superb effort and fully deserving of the 9. Another podium finish, another trophy for Maserati. It's great to see, isn't it? And it's great to see Maxi Gunter finding his feet once again. Deserves a chance and a shot at the seat next season. He's not got a contract just yet, which is surprising, but Mortara has. Not sure how that's going to work. I would extend Gunter's contract and I would swiftly rip up Mortara's, I would say that. But yeah, for now, Maxi Gunter, 9 points. Finishing in fourth place and breaking his duct of podium or no points at all. It is Jake Dennis finishing in fourth place, of course. Just one position away from those podium places. And as mentioned, all he's done this season is podium or nil points. Well, I'm sure he'd love to have been on the podium, but at least he's securing points when he's not on it for the first time this season. That's mad, isn't it? That is absolute madness. Yeah, well done to Jake Dennis this weekend so far. It's gone very well, to be honest. He's been outscored by Cassidy, which is not ideal, but he's still within the shout, isn't he? He's very much in the hunt for this championship. And Jake Dennis has done well this season, it must be said. He's had a couple of bad races. He's had some that were his fault. He's had ones where he's been like rammed out of the way by Tinkton and has just generally been unlucky with the car breaking down at one race as well. So, you know, it's not all gone his way this season, but when he is on form, he is on form, and he's done fantastically well. For Jake Dennis, it's going to be 8.5. 8.5 to him, and just for the reason that he didn't get on the podium, but, you know, still a great points haul of 12 points. Actually scored some points when he's not on the podium, which is great. And it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. He looked to have a really good car, didn't he? But just couldn't do much with it. He was a sitting duck. Let's not forget that as well, actually, as I mention it. He was leading at one stage and then he tumbled to second, and he just said, mate, I'm a sitting duck, because they'd not quite got the energy percentage right, so he had to lift off. He almost lost out at the end, didn't he? He had a queue of cars behind him, who we're going to be talking about next. But thankfully was able to hold on to that fourth place. So, worthy effort. Bit of a miscalculation by Andretti. Be interesting to see if they've learnt the lesson for tomorrow. I'm sure they will have done. It's a lesser laps, isn't it, tomorrow? So, more full power and less energy saving, so that should go into Andretti's favour, but we'll see what happens. But for now, as mentioned, 8.5 to Jake Dennis. Chomping at the bit behind Jake Dennis was, of course, Jean-Eric Vergne in the DS Penske. It's a top 5 finish for him. It's a good result. It's solid, isn't it? You know, the DS Penske's have been very hit and miss this season. Jev has done what he can with the car he's got, I would say. Van Dorn's been a little bit off it, though, hasn't he? This season, though, you know, so far, Vergne has mounted a good charge with scoring some good points, but never been in the title hunt, unfortunately. He had a slow start to the season. That did DS Penske in general, to be honest. Took them a little while to get used to their powertrain. But once they have done, the driver, particularly Vergne, has excelled and done what he could. A top 5 finish, it's solid. But, you know, it's going to be interesting to see where they go towards next season, to be honest with you. See what happens there. But for now, Vergne, it's 8 points. 8 points to Jean-Eric Vergne. He's done a great job there with the car he's got, with the equipment he's got underneath him. A top 5 finish at some good points for DS Techeetah. Helps them in the team standings, which is all very close as well. I was looking at that. That's a bit tight and a bit fraught at the top. So, yeah, not going to be overall champions in any form. But, you know, if they can gain another place in the Constructors, it's prize money, isn't it? So, yeah, Jean-Eric Vergne, 8 points to him. Finished in 6th place, it is Nico Muller in the Apt. Their best result of the season so far. What a fantastic result for Nico Muller. But really bodes his confidence as well after that terrible accident he had at Portland as well. Let's not forget that. But yeah, he's done great, hasn't he? Yeah, he was a beneficiary of the downfall of so many cars with the Bird incident. But he had to get through that accident, didn't he? You know, he had to worm his way through, and be it luck, be it skill, whatever you want to call it, he ended up out there, back on track. And that Apt car, despite the fact there's only 13 finishers, that Apt car could have still easily finished 13th. But the fact he was harrying the back of Jean-Eric Vergne, who was harrying the back of Jake Dennis at the end of that race, proved that he had something in that car. He was comfortable in it. The Apt was clearly a better car than it has been at the start of the season, and we have seen that throughout the last few races actually. Picking up the odd point here and there has been really, really good to see. I still think they're firmly last in the standings though. I can't see him overtaking, would it be Neo or Mahindra, lingering down there towards the back of the standings. I think Apt Cooper very much will be struggling to beat the next car above them. But nonetheless, you know, it's great just to see them pick up points and have something to celebrate and cheer about. And a 6th place result, their best of the season by far, is worthy of celebrating. So congratulations, Nico Muller, on a top drive. Yeah, you looked into it a little bit, but you did deserve it. And it's a perfect 10 to Nico Muller. Well done to Nico Muller there. Fantastic effort. Then we come to Pascal Wehrlein. Championship over, I would say. I think it's still mathematically possible at this moment in time, but I think if he has a race like he has this race tomorrow, I don't think it's even mathematically possible anymore. I don't know what's happened to him at all. Da Costa looking like the better Porsche the last few rounds, it must be said. And this is Wehrlein's pace at the moment, isn't it? Wehrlein has literally just been doing this all throughout the last few rounds of just, 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th, you know. Nothing really special. I don't know where his form has gone. I don't know where his pace has gone. And like I've said, Da Costa's up there doing it. So it isn't as if Porsche have lost something. It's more like Wehrlein's lost something. It's ridiculous to think he's thrown away this championship in such a weird and bizarre form. Like the lead he had over Jake Dennis at one stage and the lead he had over everyone else was astronomical. And it's just chipped away. And it's been broken down by the likes of Evans, Cassidy and Jake Dennis to the point where I'm not sure if it is still mathematically possible or not at this moment in time. But either way, I don't think it's going to be mathematically possible after tomorrow's race. Let's put it that way. He's got to win, basically. And I find that very unlikely with the pace he's got at the moment. So for Pascal Wehrlein, it's going to be a generous 4. And I do think that's generous, probably by up to 2 points. But, you know, a little bit of sympathy there for him being his own self. I don't know. I don't really know why I'm getting a bit of sympathy. But 4, I feel, is a fair score. Airing on generous, I would say that. So yeah, 4 to Pascal Wehrlein. Then we come to Norman Nato in the Nissan. Norman Nato Nissan. And what can be said for his race weekend overall? It's been another one of those, hasn't it, at the moment? This race has been, you know, Nissan looking strong, then fading away. Not many finishes in this race, and here he is just picking up a few points. It's not brilliant, is it? Must be said. I think they're just struggling with the overall efficiency of the powertrain. The shorter races they do really well at, because obviously it's more power, less energy saving. The ones where energy saving comes into place, it's not great. That's where they struggle, and here he struggled again. So, Norman Nato in the Nissan this weekend, this race I should say. He's not done bad, has he? But I don't think it's anything better than average. So for that reason, it's going to be 6 points. 6 points to Norman Nato in the Nissan for that one. Good to see him pick up a few points, but overall, I think it should have been more, you know. I think when Nico Muller's up there in the Apt, I think it should be finishing there, basically. So, yeah, 6 points to Norman Nato. Then we come to Sergio Sette Camara in the Neo 333. His first points since Well, would it have been India? Is that they're the only points he's scored this season? He's had a duff season, hasn't he? He's had one glory moment where people think, oh, he's done well. And then you look at it and you think, oh, actually, he's done really badly since. I think this is his first point since then. But either way, Sergio Sette Camara this race, as much as I would love to sing his praises for scoring a couple of points, I don't think he should be finishing behind an apt. This is my whole premise of it all. You know, you gotta look at it and go, how's the season been going? And Dan Tinctum has been up there at times, you know, and he's been putting in the more consistent results. Yeah, you know, Sette Camara's had that 1 5th place finish. Wow, fantastic. But he's not done anything since. And Tinctum's always been in that P7, P8 area, even when there's been a lot more cars finishing the race. I mean, we know what happens to Tinctum. We'll come to him in a minute. But this race has been one of those where if an apt could finish 6th, then I think a Neo should have been in the top 5 again, to be honest with you. That's how I'm looking at it. So, as much as it's great to see Sergio Sette Camara pick up a couple of points, I can't really award it anything more than an average 5. And people are going to think that's harsh, but you've got to think Tinctum's done a lot better job this season. And yet he's made mistakes, and yes, he has, you know, made errors at times, and he's not exactly had his own brilliant consistent season as Tinctum, but there has been times where I've been singing Tinctum's praises for finishing well inside the points when there's still 20 cars going round on the track. Here we have a whole host of retirements, 9 cars in the end, 2 that had to make pit stops, so that takes it down to 11 cars effectively fighting for points, and he just scrapes a couple. Yeah, I don't think it's easy to sing his praises, to be honest. So yeah, 5-2. Sergio Sette Camara. Then we come to the final points finisher, which is Sasha Fenestraz. Yeah, I'm not really sure what I could say about this that I haven't already said for Norman Nato, which is basically they had pace, they looked good over 1 lap, they're struggling with the energy efficiency over a longer race distance and tumbling down the order. He picks up a point, Norman Nato picked up a few, there's a Neo in between them. And I think overall Fenestraz, I'm going to give him a 6. I'm going to give him the same as Norman, and people are going to say that's a bit generous considering it. Norman scored more points, which I get, I completely agree, but you've got to remember, Fenestraz still in his rookie season. Yeah, he's done fantastically well for a rookie, it must be said. And yeah, just not been his race overall, you know, but I think the Nissans, a shorter race distance should be better, but this race just wasn't in their favour, but at least they picked up points. Yeah. 6 to Fenestraz is what I'm going to award him. I think he's done a good job there. So, yeah, 6 to Fenestraz. Finishing just outside the points, we come to Stoffel Van Dorn. Now, what could be said for Van Dorn? He was the one that did sort of get caught up in the accident, had to go into the pits and they had to change a couple of wishbones and things. But still outside the points. 11th. It's not great, is it? It's not great. Yeah, I don't really know. I think, yeah, you know, the car will probably weren't the best car in the world after its damage, after hitting the wall. But I just don't think I can praise it when Vern's up there in 5th. I think had Van Dorn got himself inside the top 8, I would have commended that. But 11th place and only realistically these 11 cars doing anything that could score points is 11th. You know, not great. So I'm going to award him 3 points. 3 points to Stoffel Van Dorn this weekend. Shame he got caught up in the incident. I know, as mentioned, he had to have work done to the car during the red flag period. But I still think the car should have been better than the Nissans and the Neo ahead. That's my lateral thinking. Even with a bit of damage, maybe the car not quite tracking straight and true, I still think he should have been ahead of those 3 cars that he ultimately finished behind and outside the points. So yeah, 3 points to Stoffel Van Dorn. Then we come to Roberto Meri in the Mahindra, finishing in 12th place. His best result of the season. At least he kept himself out of trouble with that big accident that happened ahead. That's really the only positive I can take away from this weekend for him. Mahindra, once again, they're the firm back markers now, aren't they? You know, that podium at Mexico has really saved them embarrassment of potentially finishing last in the championship. If it wasn't for that, you know, they'd be really struggling for points. And I think that would be chomping at the bit now without that 15 points. So, yeah, they've got to be thankful that De Grassi did that for him, because since then it's been very much a pointless exercise. Yeah, you know, Meri thrown in at the deep end, wasn't really expecting to race Formula E this season, but Ollie Rowland had enough. And he's done okay, hasn't he? Like I say, at least he's kept it out of trouble, not smashing it into the wall, and he's done okay there. So Roberto Meri is 6 points of him this race weekend. I mean, what else can we expect, is all I'm going to say to that. So yeah, 6 points to Meri. And then last of the runners, we come to Dan Tinctum. And just as we thought, oh, you know, there could be some good results here, he goes and takes his front wing off like a donut, doesn't he? Ploughs into the back of, was he one of the McLarens? Could have been Ras, perhaps. I can't quite remember, but he certainly slammed into the back of someone, didn't he? Took his front wing off, had to pit, made a right smelly mess of the car, and took himself out of points contention. You know, he should have been on there for a top 5 easily with Tinctum's pace of what he's been doing this season. And this is what we're saying. It's erratic, isn't it, from Dan this season? He's put in some impeccable performances, but then he's done things so stupid you can't believe it. And this was another one of those. So Dan Tinctum this weekend is scoring 1 point so far this race. I hope the next race is better for him, but for now it is just a solitary 1 because, yeah, what can I do? What can I do? It's 1 to Dan Tinctum. Then we come to the list of retirements, and the last on this list, the first in the race, of course, it is Rene Rast. So what could be said for Rene Rast's race? I can't even remember why he retired, actually. Did he get arse-ended by Tinctum? That's what I'm thinking. Or was it a mechanical issue? I can't quite remember. But nonetheless, Rene Rast was very much out. So, yeah, late retirement as well in the race, wasn't he? Or did he have wing damage? I can't remember what happened to Rene Rast. But nonetheless, I've scored him a middle of the road 5, as I do for retirements. Retirements, I can only score a maximum of 5 points to. Of course, I can go lower than that, but the most I can score is 5. So we're getting to the phase now where you know what's coming. There's a lot of accidents, big shunt there. A lot of these drivers are going to be getting 5, caught up in accidents that weren't their fault. But yeah, Rene Rast, don't think he was caught up in that accident. Carried on going for a bit longer, but I think he must have. I don't know why I've got Tinctum hitted him, and I don't think that's right. I think he's just broken down. So Rene, yeah, because he did, yeah, because he was running really well, weren't he? And then he pitted. Yeah, shame. Anyway, for Rene Rast, shame, because he was actually had a great qualifying there, and was running around quite high up, and then tumbled down the order, and then pitted. So I think it was more of a car issue, or maybe a puncture or something like that. But yeah, nonetheless, Rene Rast, middle of the row 5, or the maximum for a retirement, 5 points to Rene Rast. Next up, it is Sam Bird, the master of none, who's just self-destructing and destroying everyone else's race as well. Already disqualified on the cruel corner, of course, if you're not already aware. So disqualification, I don't award points to because he's disqualified. But yeah, what a shame for Bird to take himself out like that. Very, 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 very silly. And a big, big shame for him and for everyone else that got caught up in that. Very lucky that everyone walked away. I'm glad that that did happen. Nick Cassidy has been signed to replace Bird for next season alongside Mitch Evans. That's going to be a fantastic driver pairing. As for Sam Bird, I don't know where he's going to end up. I don't think he's going to end up in Formula E. I can't see any team actually wanting him, looking at his season this season and thinking, yeah, we'll take a chance with him. Because it has been very lacklustre and very shunty, hasn't it? So yeah, big shame for Sam Bird this race. Big shame for his overall Formula E career. I think that's pretty much nailing the coffin now. Job done. And disqualified on the cruel corner anyway, so no points are going to be awarded. But yeah, Sam Bird, yeah, caused a big mess there, didn't he? Next up, we come to Sebastian Buemi, also caught up in the incident with Sam Bird. He was the first one to clip Sam, actually, so that was a bit of a mess, wasn't it? He had a big impact there. It clipped the car, it tipped, and then it hit the wall on the other side, and then just bounced along the road in absolute pieces. It was a right mess. Wishing all the mechanics, obviously, I hope they get the car fixed in time, and I hope they're not too tired afterwards, but yeah, I hope they do a great job. Race mechanics are just unsung heroes of the world. Yeah, you don't realise how important they actually are, but yeah, they do a fantastic job. I'm sure the team will get him back out again. They'll do an incredible effort, but I would say that needs a new chassis. I don't think there's much left salvageable on that car, to be honest with you. Maybe the steering wheel, and that's about it. Yeah, so for Sebastian Buemi, middle of row 5, a retirement, caught up in an incident that wasn't his fault, running okay when the accident actually happened. He was inside the top 5, top 6, doing quite a good job, and yeah, couldn't see what he was going to do because he was taken out. Big shame. Middle of row 5 to Buemi. Next up, it is Antonio Felix da Costa, another victim of the Bird shunt. Buemi went right, da Costa went left, and he got clipped as well. He ended up with wheels off everywhere and pretty much down the same, ended in the same way that Buemi did, just not quite as dramatic. But a big hit, and the rear floor of Buemi's actually hit his halo, so it was lucky that the halo was there. Otherwise, that would have been a hefty hit on the helmet and not something that he would have wanted. So yeah, halo once again coming into effect this weekend. Not that we like to see it coming into effect and saving lives, but it's there to do that, and it did the job once again. Da Costa, Miller 05 once again. All I can score. He was running around in a good position once again. Too early in the race to know whether he'd gone forwards or backwards, but yeah, just a big shame to be caught up in that mess. 5 to Da Costa. Next up, Eduardo Mortara again caught up in this accident, and he was the one that T-boned Sam Bird. A massive shunt for the pair of them there. The other two had it quite heavy of Buemi and Da Costa, but this was by far the biggest shunt. Coming in at speed around a blind bend and seeing a stationary car sideways across the track. Couldn't have been a nice feeling for Mortara or Bird in that incident. Thankfully, both drivers walked away. Mortara this season has been a very difficult season for him. This was not his fault whatsoever. There was nothing he could do. Absolutely nothing he could do, and just such a shame. Mortara has already been disqualified from the Cruel Corner this season for his earlier performance as an antic, much like Bird. And yeah, he obviously remains disqualified. We can't score him a score, but yeah, so glad that he walked away from that. Big job for the Maserati squad, but they're well used to fixing his car now, so I'm sure they'll have it ready for him. But Mortara, I'm glad he's okay. Next up, Lucas Di Grassi in the other Mahindra, again caught up in the accident. Miller 05 to him as well. Not much more I can do than that, unfortunately. Again, he decided to go left, got clipped by the car, hit the wall as well. He was out on the spot, sadly, and that was that. So yeah, Di Grassi, a disappointing way to end the race. Miller 05 to him. And then last but by no means least, that got caught up in the incident. We're not quite finished with the drivers yet, but the one that got caught up in the incident as well was Robin Freins. And again, he went left, got tagged the wall, tagged debris, broke his steering, broke his suspension, out on the spot, sadly. So again, a Miller 05 to Robin Freins for that. And there we go. I can't really do much more, unfortunately. Big shame again. All these teams have got so much work to do. I feel so sorry for them. But yeah, if there's anyone that can do it, it's the race mechanics in Formula E. They'll get them all back out once again. But such a shame to see such a big incident take out so many cars so early on in the race. It was a bit of drama, but drama we didn't really want to see. So then, there was one retirement before this whole big incident happened, and that was Andre Lotterer once again stuffing it into the wall. Yeah, I don't really know what else I can say about Andre Lotterer this season. He has done nothing, has he? He's had that 4th place at Mexico, the first round, and then since then he has done absolutely nothing. Has he scored, what, 2 or 3 points since that one? He's not done many. He's not scored many points. He's just done nothing. I don't understand how Andretti have even bothered keeping him. I thought when they were bringing Beckman in, because obviously Lotterer had other commitments that race weekend, I just thought they were going to keep sticking Beckman in the car for the rest of the season and tell Lotterer not to bother coming back. For some reason they allowed him to come back, and all we've seen him do is just end up in the wall. I just can't believe it. At least Beckman, a young rookie, inexperienced in Formula E, would have took a while to get up to speed, absolutely. But if you're in the latter half of this season, Lotterer's not scoring points anyway. You were losing nothing by having Beckman in the car. And in fact, you'd have probably been gaining because you're not paying for damage. Because that is all Lotterer has done this season. Crash or finish last. It's just, there's just nothing there, is there? So another one that's his seat must be under threat. I don't know what his contract's like at Andretti, but whatever it is, I think they're going to be breaking it like Jaguar have with Sam Bird, like I expect Maserati to do with Mortara, because you've got Jake Dennis there fighting for a championship, close to like 190 points, and what's Lotterer scored? About 20 at best. It's just appalling. So yeah. Andre Lotterer, disqualified on the cruel room anyway, remains that way very much so. But this is where I'm starting to think I need to figure out a more rigorous penalty. You know, I just can't just keep having him disqualified and just not scoring him points. I think he needs something more rigorous to happen because it's just appalling. It really is. So yeah, Andre Lotterer disqualified, and that's it. And then last but by no means least, it's Jake Hughes, who didn't start the race due to a hefty qualifying shunt. I feel sorry for Jake on this one, to be honest with you, but, you know, he's a rookie. It's his first time he's ever managed to make a mistake like this to the point where he doesn't actually race the race. It's a huge shame, but I can't score him anything. I can't score him anything. He's taken himself out of qualifying. He's taken himself out of the race before it even began. I can't score him anything. So it's a big fat 0 to Jake Hughes, I'm afraid. And I'm very, very sorry to say that. But with a race like this, where there was so much carnage and so much chaos, he could have nipped through it all and come good and got himself a good top 5 finish there. You know, Rene Rast was looking strong at one stage in that race before he had his problems. Jake could have been up there as well. So yeah, 0 to Jake Hughes. So there we go, guys. Those were the runners and riders of the Formula E-Prix from Rome in Italy. Let me know your thoughts and feedback down below. Did I score any drivers too high, any too low? The updated point standings with the scores I have awarded are on the screen now for you to take a look at. Thanks as always go out to Dan of Dan Bartlett, formerly Mushy Gaming, for providing me with this scoreboard, because without him this series will be more pointless than it already is. Take a look and see where your favourite driver is on this scoreboard then. Who do you think is going to win this title? We've got tomorrow's race to come as well, so you'll see the video for that tomorrow, of course, at 5 PM. And yeah, you know, let me know where your favourite driver is and what do you expect to see from him with the last couple of races remaining. We're almost there. We're almost at the end now. And yeah, who do you think will be the first ever Formula E Cruel Corner champion? Who knows? Let me know in the comments below. So I'll see you all tomorrow for the second round of the Rome E-Prix. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all again tomorrow. And as always, much love.